I don't know if there's another industry where a provider is getting so much outside help and influence. Other people are spending millions of dollars to market for you. Are you going to open your doors to this and accept it, or are you going to keep them shut?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Raving Patients Podcast. I want to thank my sponsors, both Dental Intelligence and the doc sites, for their support, allowing me to come to your inbox every single Friday at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So today's episode is called The Aligner Boom of 2024, and we're talking obviously about clear aligners. I was a very big clear aligner fan. I did a lot of Invisalign in my practice, and I've always wanted to learn how a practice can take their clear aligners to the next level. I'm interviewing someone who can help you as a beginner in clear aligners take your practice to the next level. Today's guest is Avi Patel, and we're talking about the aligner boom of 2024 and beyond. So please welcome to the Raving Patients Podcast, Avi Patel. Avi, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And for those that don't know, he's very active on social. He has a huge Instagram following. So you can check him out at dr.avi, A-V-I, and you can learn more about him on his Instagram channel. So Dr. Avi is not your average dentist. He is the leading aligner educator on social media, captivating a massive following with his invaluable insights and educational content. With his relatively short yet expansive expertise, he has made a significant impact in the dental field. Clear aligners was the procedure that truly transformed his career. Witnessing the remarkable results and the positive impact on both patients and himself, he felt compelled to share his knowledge with dentists worldwide. Through his dynamic Instagram page at dr.avi, A-V-I, and captivating YouTube channel, Dr. Avi, has become the go-to source for aligner education. Dental professionals flock to his authentic approach and expert advice, making him the most followed aligner educator on social media. Beyond his presence, Dr. Avi is the visionary CEO and founder of Clear Aligner Advisor, a renowned consulting company empowering dental professionals to excel with clear aligners. He has developed Aligner Launchpad, a one-of-the-kind, brand-agnostic, virtual clear aligner training program providing dentists with the essential knowledge for aligner success. Driven by a genuine desire to make a difference, Dr. Avi's mission is to empower dentists worldwide to reach their full potential. He has revolutionized dental education and serving as a guiding light for those seeking support and guidance. Again, please welcome to the Raving Patients Podcast, Avi Patel. Avi, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, the bio I think does like it's got the color, it's got the story, and then it allows for us to kind of like get into the nitty gritty. I think the only thing really to expand on that would just be I'm finding it to be extremely enjoyable for me to be able to connect with other people in the space who have podcasts and just ways to get the word out, right? Because I think as a dentist kind of starting out, there wasn't a lot of content out there to kind of learn from. And so just kind of getting connected with you and being able to come on here, I'm super pumped to talk more.
Well, I'm excited to have you. And for those that don't know, I was introduced to Avi at the SCN meeting in Nashville this year in June. He was so busy because he was really popular. We never got a chance to be formally introduced. And which is interesting because I'm like the most social person and we never got an ability to be introduced. But that was when I first became aware of who he was. I've been seeing his content. He reached out to me and said, "Can I be on your podcast?" I was like, "Hell yeah, let's do this." So that's what this is where this is coming from. So I want people to kind of, before we get into the clear aligner part of it, I want people to really get an idea of how you transform your career. So as you know, I'm a little older than you. I just turned 50 years old. I practiced for 23 years in dentistry. I no longer practice. Obviously, I do a lot of other things in the industry. You followed a similar path, but did it in a very short period of time. So can you just talk about your kind of, hey, how did you got involved in this and how many years it took you to kind of, I want to say, exit clinical practice? You're very much involved like I am, but you're no longer doing dentistry. So can you just touch base on that to begin with?
Yeah. So high level, the journey was graduated dental school 2018. I worked in 8 offices in my first 2 years coming out as an associate. Everything from private office to startup to Medicaid corporate, you name it. Then that was all in the Northeast in Connecticut. Then we moved down to Austin in 2020. And then that's where I started working for a small DSO and basically got the support there to kind of start doing aligners. started kind of hitting my stride, had a mentor, and we can kind of dive into that story a little later. But yeah, started doing it. Ended up found success with aligners. Was wondering why more people weren't doing it. So then I started kind of teaching the doctors that I was working with. Then I wanted to have a formal position because I realized that I was being drawn in this direction. Like aligners as like a treatment option was fulfilling to me, but then I was starting to kind of tap into this next level of fulfillment, which was the teaching, coaching, mentoring aspect. And so then the DSO that I worked for, I wanted to have a more formal position. Call it 1 or 2 less clinical days to kind of coach the docs in their group. They shot me down. And then so my wife was like, well, why don't you just start consulting? And so I was like, great. I don't really know what consulting is. And she was like, consulting is where you're basically giving people advice on your experiences and you're getting paid for it. Cause at that point I was literally like calling people like my friends and just like, I mean, I felt like I had found the gold rush, like the equivalent of the gold rush, and was like, okay, guys, like this is what you need to be doing. So, yeah, then I started doing some one-on-one consulting here locally in Austin. I was helping doctors who had no experience start like 25 cases in their first 2 months and really just kind of bringing aligners into their practice. And then once I started having some of those consulting clients, I was like, cool, let's get the word out. So I read, my mom put me on the 10X rule by Grant Cardone. And he's all about taking massive action, omnipresence, and all that. So I was like, you know what? This is what I want. This is what I'm going to do. Started posting on social media, the free value. Learned how to do reels, and then started getting leads, started getting like people booking sales calls essentially. And I have zero experience when it comes to sales calls. So I'm like coaching these people for free on these calls. No one really enrolled because I mean, people were chiming in from like South Africa, Jamaica, like all over the world. And which shows you the power of social media, which is nuts. But then Dr. Vinesh Ganatra reached out to me. Now he's my mentor. He's like, hey, he's like, I see what you're doing. But he's like, have you ever thought about making a course? And I was like, no, like courses are for like, that's not me. Like that's for, older docs who have a lot of experience. And like, that's just in my mind, the only dentists with courses were like older doctors. And he's just like, well, he's like, are you providing value? And then I was like, yeah. He's like, are you, you helping these docs? Are you teaching something they don't know? And I'm like, yep. And then so he's like, yeah, cool. So you can take your content and you can disperse it in a course and you're able to help more people. It's more accessible. It solves all these problems. So I was like, okay. Then I create the course. Then I was working at that point, like 4 days a week clinically. And the rest of the time was on kind of building out this online business. And then fast forward to the beginning of 2023, and I was down to 2 days clinical, rest of the week focusing on this. Everything was great. But then the online business started to pick up because while there was, the growth of the actual program itself, there was also, I was doing like YouTube, kind of using that as a way to kind of get more information out there. And I just needed more time to spend on it. So then in September of 2023 is when I officially retired from clinical dentistry. And so that was 5 years, almost 5 years to the exact date of when I started my first job, which was pretty nuts. Yeah. And it's been a couple months now. And so I've just been kind of getting used to this, kind of full-time entrepreneur hat while still trying to make a difference in the industry.
Got it. I think that's great. I love hearing that. I have a longer story, but similar idea. Hey, I found a need in the industry. I created something, sold it. And over the years, I've been able to obviously get out of clinical dentistry. I'm very much involved in the industry, like I said, but I love people that have followed similar paths. You just did it in a very short period of time. It's interesting. In my clear aligners, I only was trained with Invisalign because the doctor that I bought my practice from, who had passed away, was trained, and I had patients who needed to get cases worked on. Otherwise, I had zero interest. I had no interest in it. And I still remember I saw a stat that 75% of your patients are good candidates for Invisalign. Okay. Whether it be for crowding, whether it could be for spacing, or whether it could be for malocclusion or aesthetics. Okay. And I heard that and it literally changed my career. I went to an Invisalign event, one of their summits or one of their forums at the time it was called, and it was eye-opening to me. And I I literally went back to my office and said, we're going to do more clear aligners. And I became an elite provider, which was at the time 120 cases in a year. And I finished about 500 cases in my career. And I love doing Invisalign. I pushed the envelope a little bit, but I love doing it. So I understand why there's a definite need. It's enjoyable. You can delegate some things. It's a very profitable procedure if you delegate properly, in my opinion. Let's talk about the clear aligner industry. So obviously there are a lot of different ways to talk about this, but where do you see the industry now? Where do you see it going? I mean, we're talking about the aligner boom of 2024 and beyond. I think the aligner boom has really been for many years, especially since COVID and people are on Zoom looking at their teeth. But where do you see things going from now and in the future? And where do you see direction? I'm curious your direction on align technology with Invisalign versus other companies that are now out there because the patent was released, or they couldn't secure their patent anymore or their trademark. So why don't you talk about that arm from the beginning?
So you're right. The aligner growth in the industry has been happening for a while. The reason why I'm, kind of wanting to deem this the aligner boom is because of the recent events with Smile Direct Club. But kind of going back to your first question of where do I see aligners and where do I see the direction? I think aligners they're the present, but they're also the future. Reason being is because this procedure can do so many things. And I think what happened traditionally in dental education is ortho is one of the last things that general dentists think about. I think aligners has done a really good job now to position itself, and the dentists who are having the most success are the ones where aligners are at the forefront of their practice. Because, I always relate it to a car. If your teeth are the tires, your mouth is the body of the car. If you don't have, aligned tires, you're going to wear them out at different rates. They're going to break down. So it's like, if you just keep everything aligned and balanced, everything's going to last a lot longer. Same thing goes for your mouth. So then it's just funny because general dentists would, instead of taking that approach of let's balance everything out and then start fixing things, they're like, let's go fix things. And then, we'll make the things that we fix kind of balance stuff out, which just from like an overall wellness perspective is not necessarily the best way. But that being said, I think it also, it's not dentist's fault. I think it's just the way we were trained, and seeing, different people kind of start educating on this and talking about it more, I think it starts to make more sense, because at the end of the day, dentists want to do the best thing for their patients. And I think, in 2024 and beyond, if you are not offering aligners to some degree, or at least are educated in the basics, I think you're doing a disservice to your patients. And then kind of moving on to that topic about Smile Direct Club. So basically, Smile Direct Club, as we know, had a very rapid success in the sense of traction, attention, market share, all that stuff. And what it was is now that I've done a lot more education in the marketing space, I see exactly what they did. They identified pain points, and then they marketed extremely well to them. It wasn't out of this world marketing, right? It was textbook marketing. You see what the pain points are, you address them, and then you provide a solution on the back end. Where they went wrong is they decided to cut out the provider. That wasn't, the best thing for them, considering now that they're officially shut down. But what they did do, and I think a lot of dentists and orthodontists can pull from, is see that patients want this. They want this treatment. So every dentist that says, "Oh, it's not for my practice," or "That's not how it works here," they're lying to themselves. They just don't know how to do it. And, I think when you look at that, that's why I kind of blame dentists to some degree for Smile Direct Club having success. It's because since you didn't want to go and get the education and learn how to do this, or even just talk about it and refer patients to your orthodontist, patients found another solution. And that's why Smile Direct Club was able to have success. And it's ironic now because now dentists are getting a second chance, essentially, right? The first chance was back when Smile Direct Club was created. But the second chance now is Smile Direct Club abandoned all their customers. They're not patients. Sorry. All their customers. They abandoned them, and they're telling them if they want to have care to go see their dentist. And so I think where dentists need to wake up and realize is you have these patients sitting in your office. You always did, but now they're actually being directed to you by what you thought was a competitor in Smile Direct Club. So my message to dentists out there is you need to go learn how to do this stuff. Whether you do the cases or you're referring, it's got to be in your toolkit moving forward.
I think that's a really valid point that a lot of people don't really, get. I give credit to Invisalign in this case. Invisalign started the clear aligner craze because they went direct to consumer. Okay. In the same note that Discus Dental started the whitening craze when they went direct to consumer with the whitening options. That created demand for the dentist to go out there and want to do it. Okay. Smile Direct Club, from a dentist perspective, were a negative nilly to the industry because they cut out the provider and went directly to consumer. But again, it made the consumers aware of what was available to them. And they could do, in this case, they could do it just by doing stuff at home, and they do it themselves. Do it yourself, as they call it. Now they've attracted the attention again and gave more reason to go back to the dentist here. And I think the dentist in that case has to recognize that and find ways to reach that audience. And I'll give you a couple of examples. The day that news came out, later that evening, there's a dentist in Tampa, Florida. Her name is Andrew Vallow. Andrew was on social media already putting out something on social about, hey, we're a home for you. If you started Smile Direct Club and are not comfortable finishing or can't finish it or do whatever you're doing, they expect them to pay still. But if you need a home to come to, we will take your case and we'll give you a discount to complete it doing some sort of clear aligners. I thought that was brilliant. And then other people followed as well. So I'm thinking that you have a similar idea on how to reach the audiences that Smile Direct Club was in, basically.
Yeah. And for me, I'm more so reaching the providers. But yeah, when the news came out, I was like, if I was practicing, that would be the first thing that I did because you have to recognize it. And it's like, because I made a video about it and it got a lot of traction on YouTube. And it's patients are commenting on my video asking, and I posted the video 2 months prior when they announced that they were, going to file for bankruptcy. That video picked up again. And people were commenting on there, trying to like find out and figure out what to do. So it was like, there are people literally searching on how to get this treatment. And to your point, yes, Align gets the credit for starting this way back in the day by pumping hundreds of millions of dollars into marketing and educating the public. So I don't know if there's another industry where a provider is getting so much outside help and influence. Like, other people are spending millions of dollars to like market for you. And it's just like, are you going to open your doors to this and accept it? Or are you going to kind of keep them shut? Which is just always interesting. And so for me, I'm trying to position myself to help these doctors kind of be open to it and see it and help them work through the fears. Cause I get it. It's a new procedure in sense of like, no one was really taught this in school. So it's kind of like, how can we take this like, essentially gatekept thing and start to kind of make it digestible and a place where docs can be confident to just like start and then see where you can go from there. Right. Everyone doesn't need to be doing hundreds of cases. I think the potential is there and everyone can with the right training. But at the very least, it should just be kind of in your wheelhouse is kind of my message to people.
Oh, I agree with you 100% there. So, your target audience for dentists, and that's who my audience is, your target audience is for a dentist who is a beginner in aligners, but hasn't done that many cases, and to start getting them more comfortable in doing. First, I would guess it'd be case selection is number one, deciding what you can and can't do, and then walking them through how to make it easier, delegating whatever you're allowed in your state. Can you touch base on that? Talk about who your target audience is with your boot camps and stuff that you do have online.
Yeah. So basically, target audience for me is going to be any dentist who has an open mind and looking to level up. Like, that's first and foremost. It's all about the mindset. If you don't have that growth-oriented mindset, I'm really not interested in working with you, just because I tried to kind of have my net so wide. And I just think if someone is not open to learning, it's a waste of everyone's time at that point. So it's first and foremost, you have to be willing to want to actually kind of, rise above the status quo. Then I would say it's probably going to be like your seasoned associates, and some of your practice owners, potentially new, or a practice owner who's looking to level up. And then, experience level. You could do 0 cases, or you could just have a couple, but you don't really know what you're doing. Which is a lot of dentists out there, who are just kind of, they're only offering it when patients ask, right? Those are the docs who are doing about 2 to 3 cases a month. And I don't blame them. It's because they probably don't have any systems or processes. And so, my goal is to kind of come in, help you learn how to select the right cases, kind of set them up so that way they're predictable. Communicate with your team, right? Because your team is going to be the driving force to help you scale this procedure and grow and really do a lot of cases over time. But then also to ensure that this stays relatively hands off. Like, let's be real. Aligners are awesome because as a general dentist, you don't have to do much. You don't have to do much. You're, maybe talking, you're, doing your little clean check or whatnot on the computer. But the most you're doing is polishing composite and doing some IPR. Like, that's it. This is a very lucrative way to save your entire body physically, while still helping transform patients. And it's a way to empower the entire team. I just thought, like, when I had my aha moment with aligners, I was just like, wow, this is easy. Like, this is kind of like filled in with that alignment of like, most people who become dentists, at least I did, what drew me into dentistry was the ability to make money, have time, and feel fulfilled that I was helping someone. And so for aligners, I was like, wow, this is great. Like, I have time because this is hands off. I'm making good money and I'm helping people. So, yeah, I don't have enough good things to say about it, but yeah, the target demo would be those types of dentists.
Got it. Now, I want to switch gears a little bit, and I want to talk about the influence social media has. And you actually took my line because you were talking. I was saying that's the power of social media, and you said it. You really use social media to really empower what you're doing or what you were doing to get more people to learn more about it. So right now, I'm just looking at your Instagram page as I'm doing this podcast with you. And for those that don't know, Avi has 44,800 plus followers on Instagram. That's not counting YouTube and some of the other things that he does videos on, but he is coming out with a lot of content. He's getting a ton of likes and a ton of comments on everything that he posts. So from a social media perspective, can you discuss the effect it's had on you? How do you recommend someone get involved in it? Do you just create the content? Obviously, if you build it, they will come. That's a common saying. But in this case, you still had to get those 44,000+ followers. So can you touch base on those couple of things? Like how important social media was to you, which I know the answer to. Like, what was your ways you grew your followers, your connections, whatever you want to call them, and then how you kind of look at it for your future there?
Yeah. So social media, at this point, when I first started, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I had no idea. I was like, cool, people say like social media, it's a free way to kind of market and it's good and you got to be on it and you got to be on it. You got to be on it. So I was like, all right, fine. Like I'm going to try it. So, what got me into it was more of just trying to kind of get my name out there in the sense of like trying to get my name out there and be seen and provide that value, right? And so I was like, if I can get my name to be linked with someone who provides value, I was like, that will just be good for me in any shape or form. So, getting out there and doing that, and it's almost like the less that you hold back and the more value that you provide, the more secrets that you share. Everyone's afraid that if you share all your secrets, then no one's going to want to like do other stuff with you, but it's the opposite. It's because like when you're actually sharing that powerful information is when people are going to be drawn in. The biggest thing that I also saw when my page really took off was relatability. So kind of having an opinion or sharing an experience and making that relatable to whoever your either target audience is or even to like a previous version of yourself. I feel like that's the easiest way to kind of, make it very easy to talk about. And for me, I started talking about just my experience in dentistry from like a non-clinical standpoint. So like all the mental stuff. So it's like burnout, how aspects of the industry are toxic in terms of like practice owner associate relationship and the way some owners treat the staff and just things that I had seen. Right. So it's like, they were my truths. And they weren't everybody's truths. And honestly, I think it pissed off a lot of people. Some of your followers or some of your audience who's probably listening right now, they probably unfollowed me. They could have unfollowed me at some point because, I was saying stuff that was not necessarily divisive, but I think it was realistic in terms of, how I perceived the field and how I then really experienced it. And so being authentic is the key, I think, on social media. If you are yourself and authentically sharing your perspectives, your experiences, you will grow and you will also attract your tribe. So that being said, like that then helped kind of build that trust factor, right? Because my social media page, to some degree, I mean, when I first started, it was meant to be kind of like a funnel into my training programs. And so it was either you could follow me and you could learn a bunch of aligner stuff for free, or you could kind of follow me, learn stuff for free, want to end up, learning more from me and then kind of getting into my program. And honestly, it's the social media page has generated, I would say, close to half of the people who have actually gotten into my program. And then it's also just helped me develop skill sets like being able to talk in front of a camera, being able to, just really communicate and network with other people all around the world. And, moving forward, I think what I want to use my platform for, yes, it will, still probably be a key factor with the aligner program, but more than anything, I want to start using the platform to bring more value and more awareness to things, to people in the dental industry, because I don't know of too many other dentists who have pages that are meant to serve dentists. You've got a lot of dentists out there who are serving patients and they've got massive followings. But in my opinion, they're not really helping dentists in the way that I would like to, or that I know exists, right? Like, and from a marketing perspective, there's so many amazing products. There's so many amazing services that can help dentists genuinely. But if they don't know about it, it doesn't matter how good it is. And so kind of moving forward, that is where I kind of want to start, to leverage the audience, and start to kind of get involved with, spreading the message out there that aligns with me.
People look at me as an influencer in the industry, and I'm honored that people feel that way about me. But I have 3,000 plus followers, nothing like your reach at all. And obviously my target audience is dentists as well. And it's interesting because for me, I have people tell me all the time, I love what you post. I follow you all over the country. I see where you travel. Love your glasses. I mean, I was literally in Kentucky in the middle. I was at a meeting and a woman was buying ice cream in front of me in line. And she said, are you Dr. Tao? I'm like, I am. She goes, I recognize your voice because I listen to your podcast every week. So that to me was really interesting in this world that someone can actually, relate to that. So, I mean, like I said, you have so many followers in this industry. It really that's a huge value to you, in my opinion. And, it's really, I really appreciate that you've taken it and you've done something with it, because there are people out there that have followings that don't do anything with it. So I give you a lot of credit for that.
That is one of my biggest pet peeves. It's just like they don't realize what they have. And it's so annoying because I don't know. I also just think like with followers, like I'm the same person. Right? Like the person you're talking to today is the same person when he had 800 followers, 3,000, 5,000. I'm the same guy. And that's why one of the things I said is if you want to grow on social, the best way to do it is to be authentic. Because if you are being somebody who you're not, when your page takes off, when you have that growth, you're going to start to feel that imposter syndrome. And then now it becomes a job and a chore, where for me on social media, I'm just sharing aspects of my life. I try not to overthink stuff. And I think that is what kind of makes it not so much of a job, and it's more easy to sustain. But to your point, it doesn't matter. Like, honestly, the numbers thing, I think it's blown out of a little bit of proportion, in the sense of like, I had that same moment that you had back when I had like maybe 1,800 followers. I'd been posting for, a couple months at that point. And, I was in Denver walking down the street, and I was just like, I was killing time waiting for my brother-in-laws to get in town. And then I saw a dental practice, and then I posted on my story. I was like, oh, do you think they offer Invisalign? And I put up a poll, and then, some people said yes or no or whatever. And then I went to a museum, and then most of the followers said yes. And so I was like, oh, it'd be pretty cool if I go in there and like see if they actually do. And so I walked in and I was like, hey, I just, my name is, and before I could finish it, the guy's like, you're Dr. Avi. And I'm like, yeah. And then I was struck, and he was like, yeah, he's like, I watch your stuff. He's like, you're the aligner dude, right? And I was like, yeah. And then he's like, yeah, we don't do Invisalign. And I was just going to ask if you guys like do. He's like, yeah, we do it in house. So it's like, it was like, at that point, it's like, I wasn't even trying to sell him anything. I was just like, holy crap, like this is cool. And that's when I knew like the dental industry, especially if you want to make an impact in the dental industry, I think for me, it was very clear. I was like, that was like motivation towards like, if people already know who I am and I only have this many followers, if I stay consistent and keep doing this thing, like we can really make a difference. So yeah, don't let the numbers fool you. You don't worry about that. If you have good intentions when you're posting, like authentically, you will grow.
And I think that's the key. I think the key is you need to be authentic. And if you're not authentic, you're not going to grow. If you're authentic and you get up there and just talk and put out good content, you will grow organically. And I think that's really, really important point to make. So I want to switch gears, and then we'll get your the information about your offering to the audience. So first off, so for those that have not listened before, I do this on every podcast. It's a lightning round Q&A. So Avi's, the point of this is to get Avi's to answer these questions really, really quickly. I use a program called Poddex, and they're business related questions. So we'll go through 8 or 10 of them. You need to answer them as quick as you can. No long drawn out answers here, and we'll get through these answers, but they're all business related. Okay. So the first one, what about the future are you most excited about?
Connection.
What consumes your thoughts on a daily basis?
Growth.
Do you believe there is some sort of pattern or formula to becoming a successful entrepreneur?
Yes. The recipe is identify a pain point, create a solution, and stay consistent to try to provide value to people.
Perfect. How do you capture and keep track of ideas? Do you keep a notebook? Do you have voice memos?
I use Notion, and I use this it's called Second Brain. And I basically inbox them directly into this app. So it's on my phone. I can access on the computer. And then, I've got different notebooks for those ideas.
If you were to do anything differently in your life, what would it be?
Probably speak up sooner and do something sooner.
That's really good. How do you describe a typical Monday in your life?
Very much balanced, I would say. Wake up at 5 a.m., have a morning routine, breakfast with my wife, take the dog for a walk, kind of get to work. No calls, but I like to just kind of organize my week and end the day by going for another walk. And then we make dinner, and I'm usually in bed by 9.
Who would you love to collaborate with, and what would you love to collaborate on?
I would want to collaborate with probably Ali Abdal, and I would want to collaborate with him on a way to probably provide value to dentists and help them become more productive with their time.
I think that's a great one. Do you have a hard time telling people no?
Kind of.
It's very common. Very common. What is your favorite book or a book you recommend others read?
Ooh, Gap and the Gain. Great book. By Dan Sullivan.
Okay, Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan. Great choice. And then if you had a magic stick, what are 3 things you would change in the world today?
Oh, man. Magic stick, 3 things I would change in the world. I would probably have something to where you could make the weather be 75 and sunny, by a snap of the fingers. I would have it to where there would be just more ambient music in extremely quiet spaces if you wanted it, right? These are all over the place. The third one, I think I would make it so that way any pair of shoes you wear would be extremely comfortable.
That was a very different answer than I usually get, which is I want to get rid of war. I want there to be peace. So you went in a totally different direction, which is great. That's why I do these things. So that's really good. So last question I have for you is what is one subscription, either business or personal? So it could be either or that you can't live without.
Oh, probably my Headspace meditating app.
That's a different one. Usually people say Netflix or Salesforce or something.
I just started paying for Netflix a month ago because I got kicked off my brother-in-law's account.
That's who we're doing that. So, all right, Avi. So, how can people find out more about your program? Do you have a code for them to use so you know it's coming from the podcast? Kind of go over that with the time, and we'll end the podcast.
Yeah. So the link directly to the course itself, it's on. You could just Google Aligner Launchpad, and it's there. I have a free training that is on my website. So if someone is really hesitant or doesn't know, but they want to start, I would point them there. And then the website is clearalineradvisor.co. And then you'll see the free masterclass in there. And then if you want to connect or just kind of, consume more of content kind of like this, then just following me on Instagram or YouTube, which is going to be dr.avi. But Yeah. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
So guys, if you liked the episode, please remember to share it. Please tell your colleagues about it. If you know a colleague you're wanting to learn more about taking their aligner practice to the next level or just getting started with aligners, refer them to Avi. I know he's able to help you. As always, I want to thank the sponsors, both the Doc Sites and Dental Intelligence, for their support. And as I always end these podcasts, remember, your reputation matters. Until the next episode, Avi, thanks so much for joining me, and we'll talk to everyone soon.
Thank you.